Brian, obviously, I think what we saw in that first 17 to 20 minutes at Hunslet was really impressive. Is that something you can bottle? Is that a bit of a blueprint or of what you can do going forward with the team? Or the team can do going forward?
It's a good question, and it's my observation on that would be is I think we're constantly striving to do things for 80 minutes, but that's the perfection element of high performance sport. I'm really pleased with where we're at. Clearly we're making notes, scribbling away on the design of what we're doing and what we're not doing. And a heck of a lot of the things we're doing are right. But there's still things to work on, but you wouldn't expect anything less at this time of the year. All teams are in the same boat. It's a great competition, isn't it, the Championship? Yeah. And you go undercooked anywhere and you can be beaten for maybe some of the wrong reasons, maybe some of the right reasons, but I have no doubt that we'll improve as the season goes on as well.
I was quite struck. I spoke to Kieran Gill after the game, and Kieran was very sort of down on performance, and like said that he was really spoiled with the last hour or so. Is that a good thing? The players know they can improve in certain aspects, but the fact that it was in that immediate, it wasn't about we won. It was like we've got to be doing better than this, that, and the other. Is that good that the players sort of have that attitude of constantly striving to work on those mistakes?
Yeah, definitely. Their expectations, let's not forget the players' expectations are high this year, along with everybody else's, the fans, the board, coaching staff. And when I looked at the game on Sunday night and on Monday, I probably was a little bit harsh at the weekend. Now, I thought we should have expected that Hunslet would have had a crack, which they did, and so that's respect to Hunslet. But we only went through maybe a 15-minute period where we dropped the ball 2 or 3 times and then didn't execute and gave a penalty away, and the momentum of the game shifted back the other way, and a lot of enthusiasm for the home fans, if you like. So we have to look at the reality of what happened, and we do that here. But clearly there's some things we could have done better, particularly when those things are happening to you.
You seem to be really pleased with the way that players have stepped up. Say those players that weren't picked for 2 Challenge Cup games that have come in and played against London, I think, and have done well. How pleased are you with that? Obviously it can be very easy when people think, I'm not going to be part of the 13 to drop off, but it feels that anyone that has come in has not dropped off and has sort of done you proud. That must be pleasing for you that the whole squad is sort of performing, or it feels like that.
It's not, bravery's not the word. You have to have an element of courage to play everybody, specifically when you've got a successful formula. Against Castleford, you would have to say that that's quite a competent performance, but we gave the commitment to the group, and the group understood that everybody will get a chance this year, and we'll continue to get a chance. But at some stage we have to have that element of stability of a team that can recognise what to do and when to do it and how to perform. And I'm really, really pleased with the first 4 weeks. We've looked at everybody, we know their capabilities, everybody knows what they need to improve on to push for a place. But I wouldn't be worried about using any one of our 23, 24-man squad.
It is really good. So obviously one of that squad who I think has really shown up since he come in is Ronan. Obviously Ronan is a really good problem, we've seen that, but obviously he's had a couple of charges games, so his points total for that disciplining is creeping up. I know at least they've not got the past ones anymore, but at the same time, is that difficult because it's like an accumulative thing? Do you have to have a word and say, look, you're getting close, thing like you don't want this point to go up too early in the season, or is it just a case you've got to let him be him, or is that something you need to have a word about him with?
Well, whilst we didn't challenge the second one, I thought it was extremely harsh. I thought he tackled somebody perfectly well, and it's debatable whether the ball had left his hands or not. The fact that the player got up and played on and didn't complain about the tackle is another indication that he's not far off. The alternative with that is Roman kicks back at me and says, well, do you want me to let him go? I'd say no, do heck why don't you let him go? So that's the fine line. But we have had a chat with all the players about the new system, and I think the new system is miles better. Miles better. Now they've got those crinkles out of the way at the early that not everybody's on 30 points before the start of the season. They've managed to clean that up. And there's still a judicial process that you can appeal against the points if you want to. So we understand the fine line between success and failure.
You mentioned to Mick and I after the game at Hunslet that you're hoping that it's a wholly healthy squad for. I know you're still going to need to do tests on, so but is there anyone you could rule out already at this stage, or are you hopeful that you will have that wholly healthy squad for Batley on Sunday?
Well, we're hoping that everybody's available. Clearly, we'll know more after this evening's practice session. we genuinely want everybody to be available. We want the headache of having to pick 17 players, 18 players. And I think we've got that already, because there's still going to have to be, there's still 4 or 5 or 6 people who won't know whether they're in or they're not until after tonight.
Yeah, obviously, big focus is trying to sort of come as high as you can on top of the championship, and obviously keep going in the Challenge Cup, which has been really exciting.
Yeah.
For you guys with the 1895, is it a case of while you're on this sort of runway, you just need to be, you want to keep winning every year, or is the 1895 in any way less of a priority, or is it just a case of we've got to keep winning while we're in good touch?
No, the 1895 is a huge priority for us because it's the next game up. And projections, and I've mentioned this the last month, this is the next challenge on our doorstep, and it's a huge challenge. Batley have always managed to give us a bust nose now and again, and they showed last week why they're always a threat. They have a group of people that like being with each other. They have a formula that I don't think it will change because it's successful, and it's at down on the slope, so you have to play a particular way, and you have to recognise that as well. But I think we've got some good things in our team that can cope with that challenge. The 1895 Cup is an opportunity to win a trophy, and we've only got, in theory, 3. As the Challenge Cup goes on, that gets harder and harder. We have a tough tie away at Salford, but again, back to our mantra of our next challenge is battling the 1895 Cup, and we want to progress.
Yeah, you mentioned that they often give you a bust nose, and last year Bulls were largely excellent, but they got a bust nose there last year.
Yep.
You were head coach when they did do a good job there the year before. Obviously, that was a bit of an outlier though at Batley. Is there a case of anything that needs shaking off there? Are you confident that the 2025 team can go in there with just a...
There'd be no different. No, we're taking this really seriously.
Yeah.
It'll be no different than any game that you play against Batley, whether that be away on their ground or home at our ground. They dig in and they hang in there with you, and they find a surprise, and they have a successful formula of how they do things. We have 2 challenges. We have to take them out of that stride of that successful formula, and we have to reinforce what we're good at and understand that we're a pretty good team ourselves.
That's great. Cheers, Brian.
Pleasure.
Brian, you promised the whole squad a run out up to and including round 2 just gone. You've now achieved that. What are your thoughts, observations on what you've seen from everyone?
We've got a good squad, and should we pick up injuries this year, to the people that get chosen first, we're competent in most positions, and it wouldn't be too harmful with what we've got within the group. So we're not trying to farm out anywhere. We've got some good players. We've got a good group of people that are committed to that week in, week out improvement and getting better. And so what we thought of the players has been reinforced by their performances.
Is there any players who have challenged yours, Lee Greenwood's sort of thoughts on where you had them in that sort of standing in the squad before they've had these opportunities?
Well, standing's a bit harsh. I didn't have any of them in a standing, and a lot of the players are here because of the conversations I've had with them, and I know what they're capable of. I've asked for an element of patience. I'm a bit clearer, and Green is a bit clearer in our heads who we think are the first cabs off the rank, you know, if they don't miss it. But I really want to impress that. I don't think our performance suffers too much when we're thinking of playing different people. Bearing in mind we haven't had Keys since the second half.
Be confident that the side is learning those lessons and those reinforcement principles.
We've had a couple of really good reviews, and thankfully, because they don't want to listen to me all the time, they've contributed, and it's come from the floor because there's a desire to do well, and I can only reinforce that if you're anyway undercooked on a game in the championship, you'll get done wherever you're playing and whoever you're playing against. Now, I would have to say that the big games emotionally tend to look after themselves. I think there comes a point when we have to find a formula to understand that every game is a big game for us.
Tom Holmes, you said afterwards, precautionary. Is he all good to go this week?
Well, he'll be in full training tonight, so I have no reason to think that he won't be.
Jaden Ockenbaugh with his hamstring, is he okay now, Brian?
Well, he's really close. Again, I think he'll train with us tonight, and then it's probably about how he responds.
And I'm kind of guessing Joe Keys,
yeah,
everyone else is...
Keys, Donaldson, G, Suter, all the ones that weren't, Logan Bayliss, all the ones that weren't featured at the weekend are now in the mix to see what we put together.
You might be going to the pharmacy for some migraine tablets, Brian. The headaches are back.
They're good headaches. You don't need Nurofen for good headaches, mate. It's you just got to make sure that everybody will play their part in whatever successes we have this year, or failures indeed.
You've just said obviously there's great importance on this game at Batley, but what are your expectations for Bradford's 1895 Cup journey in 2025?
Well, it's an opportunity against our contemporaries in a knockout competition to see how we can go for 80 minutes. Now, we all know how knockout competitions can go. Sometimes it's the bounce of the ball, sometimes it's a referee's decision, sometimes it's a 50-50 where you don't compete. You've got to be really, really ready or you're out of the cup. We're in another cup challenge in a couple of weeks, but I genuinely think the 1895 Cup is an opportunity for us to be under pressure for 80 minutes, because you don't get a point if you draw. There's a result, and there's a result that's a win or loss, and you're in or out. And so that trapdoor element, I think, is what we should be learning to play under. That ability to be out of something, it should be good for us. In
seasons past, 23, I think Bradford made the quarterfinals. Last year, semi-finals. How much of a sort of useful sort of motivation tool is in 3 games' time we could be under the arch at Wembley?
Well, I'm sure the players think about it. I think the fact that it's trapdoor football, I think they'll know at the weekend you're out the comp. There's something to play for, something tangible, not 2 points, which you can, if you have a bad performance with the 2-pointer, you can get it back at some stage else, or you can plan to get it back. You can't, and I'm excited by it. I think it's a tough draw, but it's a great draw for us. We need to be mentally very, very ready.
Batley, like Bradford, are unbeaten in 2025.
Yeah.
What challenges are you expecting from Mark Moxon's side on Sunday, Brian?
The field makes a difference, and I've got to go through the roster now and work out who hasn't played there. So when I hand out the crampons and the climbing ropes to get up that hill, they won't be too surprised. So yeah, they've got to understand the dynamics of the field, and particularly how you play that field. We've got a few ideas on that one. Understand that Batley don't like getting beaten. They have a group of people that's been together quite a long while, who have quite an esprit de corps, which is pleasing for them and recognisable from everybody else. And that you have to play for 80 minutes. If you don't play for 80 minutes against this team, they'll get you in some way, shape or form. If you give them any gimmies, they'll get you. If you give them anything 50-50, they'll get you. And so it's a great cup draw.
You just mentioned some of those sort of players who've been at Batley for a number of years, players like Dane Manning, James Brown. Yeah. They're the type of players, Brian, get the heads down, not afraid to roll the sleeves up and do the ugly stuff.
So there are a couple of players, and I'm glad you mentioned those two particularly, that everybody else has coveted at some stage. Super League clubs have coveted them. Dane Manning went to a Super League club, of course, and went straight back to Batley. Well, not straight back to Batley, but back to Batley. James Brown has been the most talked about player. What a good footballer he is. Left alone, he'll ruin you single-handedly, and he is a little bit of a talisman for them. If you don't do certain things on him as well, again, the game becomes really difficult. But right across the board, they've had some good talent in their team over the years and complemented it with good players. And the community spirit that they have at Batley as well, the club itself, is exemplary. So Kevin Nichols and Paul Harrison deserve a lot of credit there as well about what they put out on the field. But because everybody they put out on the field has a dig, and most people will tell you that once you've got a team like that has a dig, you have to play really well to get what you want.
I'm sure you've seen the draw with Oldham, but you know exactly what you're going to get from Josh Woods and Ben White and that kicking game, which caused Oldham so many problems at Boundary Park last week.
Yeah. Well, they've got a field that they know how to kick a ball on as well. So that's got to be one of our considerations. But there's so much more than that. They have a lot of threat and a lot of talent everywhere. So yeah, we've got our hands full at the weekend, but we're looking forward to it.
There's 5 former Bradford players who played against Oldham. I'm not sure if Jaden Myers is going to be playing again this weekend, but Do you see out in that, Brian? 5 former Bradford players in that team, maybe a point to prove. You know, Sammy Kabula, Joe Rundle, Joe Burton.
You'd have to ask that question. I know a couple of those people, and I know what they bring to the Batley team. I know the qualities that Joe Rundle has if you leave him alone. I clearly know the talents that Jaden Myers has. It'd be a big occasion for them, but we also want a big occasion. I don't want to overcook the egg. We understand the nature of our challenge, and it's as big as any we've had this year. But it's another step for us, and it's another performance where we need to play well.
I know you're taking each game by game, Brian, but when you look at the next 3, these are the games for you on a personal level that you want to be in and test yourself as a coach.
Not so much personal level. I think the group, the team, what we do is we coach. We want exciting opportunities. We go away to Toulouse. We owe them 1 or 2 or maybe even 3. They're a good outfit. You know, they got a last minute win, didn't they, over at York last week? So they'll be buoyant going back to France. The difficult team to beat over in France, even though Widnes got the score. You know, with the touch judge and things like that at the end. But they'll be getting better and better and better. They've not played as many games as us, so they'll be wanting to put a show on at home. So that's next week. And clearly Salford is a fixture that they're a Super League club, and we want to show that we're close, if not there or thereabouts, to being a Super League entity ourselves. So you're right, the next month's important, but the most important fixture is this weekend.